Friday, December 7th. And we will start with the Pledge of Allegiance. So we'll have our school board member lead us, please.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Board Member Arroyo.
I move that we move item 5.0, which is called Next Steps for Appointment Process, to the next item ahead of 4.4 or 4.0.
Make it a new point. Make it a new 4.
Make it a new 4, yes, swap them and allow the public to not only talk about the appointment process and next steps, but also to be inclusive of any dialogue that may be impacting or help decide if we will be moving with the appointment process, with an election, or any item relevant to the appointment or election.
Thank you. So I have a motion by Member Arroyo.
Second.
And then I have a second by Vice President Wu. All in favor?
Aye.
And opposed? And abstentions? The ayes have it. We have a new item 4.0, which is next steps for the appointment process. And it is going to stay the same as a conference action item. And then we have a new 5.0 for the interview of the applicants for board member appointment for trustee area 1.
And Madam President, if I may, for those of you that were not here yesterday, particularly the individuals seeking to get the appointment, the reason to move the item is the board wanted to engage in a full dialogue as to what are the full range of options for the board as it relates to the appointment and an election, not to seek an election. And board members felt that it was imperative to let the applicants know in advance if the board decided to go with an election instead, so that you would not be here answering questions for any amount of time, so that dialogue would occur first, and then should the board decide to continue with the appointment process, then hear the testimony and then the Q&A that everyone is expecting. So I hope that that's clear as to why we're doing that particular change to the agenda. That's it. Thank you.
Madam President, would you like to call the roll of the board at this time?
Yes, I certainly call. Good, thank you for the reminder. So I will call roll, starting with Vice President Wu.
Present.
Vice President Cunha is present. He is trying to secure a room. Member Bell. And Member Christina Pritchett. Member Arroyo.
Here.
Member Kennedy.
Here.
Student Board Member Yee. Here. And myself here. Diana Rodriguez. So we're all here. We have with the exception of Member Bell. And we do have a quorum. And now we have Vice President Cunha. Thank you. Now we're moving on to item 3.0, public comment on agenda items. I will call upon Gail Ferguson to call the first couple of names. We will have 2 minutes allowed for each public commenter.
I'm going to call the first 4 names. John Fox, Lucero Rodriguez, Nu Hong, and Laura Reed.
Good evening, President Rodriguez, board members. I come before you in support of Bina Lefkowitz and her candidacy for the open position on the board. And let me, before I begin, simply state, I come to you not as an employee of Sacramento City Unified School District, but as a consultant, a person who has spent years, about 15 years, working with organizations, working with individuals to help solidify their organization. So I come from that vantage point. And I support Ms. Lefkowitz because I've seen what she's done, not only with youth, working with the city of Sacramento, building programs and getting through the bureaucratic largesse of the city and also the board. But I come to you to speak specifically to her ability to build consensus. I've worked with a lot of organizations, big and small, and what I've often seen is that people have a very difficult time building consensus, getting adults or youth together to understand what the commonalities that they share. Too often, what I've seen is people who want to engage in political or bureaucratic debate for whatever variety of reasons. So I support Bina after working with her for 3 years, watching her build consensus, watching her navigate through the bureaucratic waters with the city and other organizations. I've seen her quietly, but also very passionately bring people together. And I thought, actually, when I saw her do it the first time, I thought really it was just a fluke. She was just being lucky, but I've seen her do it over the last 3 years, over and over again. So I'm asking you to consider Bina Lefkowitz and her candidacy and what she can bring to this body. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Lucero Rodriguez. I'm currently attending Sac City, and I'm with District 5. The following students are here to support Bina: New, Tony, Julene, Cece, and Waynisha. I met Bina when I first joined District 5. District 5 is a youth advocacy group that empowers the youth voice. Bina is not only the group facilitator, she is everything in between. She volunteers to give us rides to and from the meetings. She likes to reward our hard work. If it weren't for Bina, the members of District 5 would not be as close and the group would not be as strong. She has taught us to be the leaders we are today. I remember when we were partnered with Regional Transit, Bina made sure our voice was heard. She drove us all around Oak Park for hours on a Saturday morning so we could document the bus stops that needed improvement. I first joined District 5 because I wanted to help improve the community, and even though it has been a lot of work, I stayed because Bina has made advocacy fun. I know that if Bina were to be appointed as board member, she would do what is best for the youth. Thank you.
Hello, everyone. My name is Yu Huang. I'm an alumni of McClatchy High School, and I'm here to support Bina. Last year, I had the opportunity to work with her as an intern for the District 5 Youth Leader Council. And through the experience that I had, I can conclude that she had many characteristics that will benefit, and contribute to the school board. Firstly, her approach on making positive changes is by working on policy change and rather than temporary change. And I still remember the first meeting that I have with District 5. She immediately taught us the importance of making policy change to create a long-term impact. And through our advocacy for the RT, public transportation for the youth, it proved to work, and she had been assisting us in so many ways that the RT board member has been committed to ensure that the service is become more safer and more accessible for the students. And she is also a very dedicated and committed woman. I still remember that one particular District 5 meeting, she that was supposed to be canceled, but she still advised us to meet to work on our advocacy. Then later on, I found out it was actually her last day with her son because he has to go. He had to leave for college, and because of her advocacy, she had to postpone that dinner, the last dinner with her son. And through that experience, I can conclude that she is the kind of person who who is willing to sacrifice for the bigger cause, and I believe that she deserves this opportunity.
Board President Rodriguez and school board members. My name is Laura Reed. I'm a retired principal from Sac City. It's good to see you all. Very good to see you all. A community member, and I'm currently practicing law in the Oak Park, South Sacramento area. I'm here to support the application of Bina Lefkowitz to become a school board member. My comments are based on knowing Bina for over 15 years, working with her at Bret Harte Elementary School when I was a training specialist and she was a parent volunteer. And more recently, during this last year, working with her on the Promise Neighborhood Grant for the Oak Park community. I believe Bina would make an excellent school board member for the following reasons. Bina is committed to giving back to the community, and I've seen her doing that since I first met her. She spent probably hundreds of hours on volunteer basis when she was a parent at Bret Harte Elementary School. She was one of the key parents who spent hours of volunteer time working on the Healthy Start Grant. Thanks to her and her efforts and her connections with people from Sac State, she actually was able to set up a tutoring program so that the students at Bret Harte would have that extra opportunity. She was well respected by teachers, staff, and families due to her many volunteer and work and the relationships she had with the people. Her commitment was and continues to be towards all students, not just her own. During this last year, I've observed her working with nonprofit agencies and the Oak Park community on this Promise Neighborhood Grant. She's organized, she sets excellent agendas, she knows how to bring people together, she knows how to help people identify needs in the community, and then how to problem solve those needs. She listens to people, shows respect to all people, and works comfortably with all people from many diverse backgrounds. She's a person of humility and has dedicated her life to helping others. It's part of who she is, and I think she'd make an excellent board member. Thank you.
Our next 4 public agenda comments are coming from Annette Deglow, Jean Chasko, Michael Minnick, and Mike Beverly.
Can I get a point of clarification? Are we on public comment or are we on next steps for appointment?
We are on public comment.
Good. Okay, thank you. I simply wanted to submit 3 questions to the candidates. So do you want me to read the questions or just give them to you? Because do you tell them ahead of time or do you just tell them?
You could do both.
Read them?
Into and
Okay,
also provide.
I have 3 questions that I would like the candidates to address. Please share with us, and this is coming from the College Glen Neighborhood Association. Oh, Annette Deglow, President of the College Glen Neighborhood Association. Please share with us your position on election by votes of the trustees area over appointment by 6 non-Area 1 resident board members. Question number 2, if the board makes an appointment, will you help in the collection of signatures for an open election process? 3, will you be a candidate for trustee area 1 if the position goes to an open vote? May I leave that with you?
You may leave it with Ms. Ferguson.
Thank you. That's all. I just wanted to present my questions.
Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Jeannie Chasko, and I'm a parent and educator from District 3. I would like to hear from my newly elected board member what her position is on the right to democracy and the right to have a proper election for the school board position vacated by Ellen Bell. And I would like to see the election put back on the agenda if possible. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Michael Minnick. I am a parent of two students in the district, one of which attends the Met High School in Area 1. If this board decides to move forward on the planned appointment of a new trustee in District 1, I would like to advocate that Bina Lefkowitz be appointed to the District 1 trustee seat. I've worked in the child and youth development field for over 20 years, and over the last 5 years, I've gotten to know Bina well through various youth development programs, and I think she would be a great advocate for children in our district. Her resume proves that she has the clearest understanding of the supports and opportunities needed to really help the youth in our district more than any of the other candidates, probably more than anyone else I've ever met. I'm confident that Bina would be a great asset to our district, and I hope that you'll agree with me and that you'll vote for Bina Lefkowitz. Thanks.
Good evening, board members. My name is Mike Beverly. I was born and raised in Area 1. I still live in Area 1. I pay property taxes in Area 1. I'm still paying on a bond, the last one. I voted for the two that just passed. Okay, I'm a graduate of McClatchy High School. I believe I have the right to vote who's going to represent Area 1. I wish you'd consider that. Thank you.
We have two more public comments, Ralph Merletti and Ian Arnold.
Good evening, board members. I'm Ralph Merletti from the Fruit Ridge neighborhood. In looking over the literature on the candidates for Area 1, from the SCUSD website and from a Google internet search, it's not easy to find what I would call candidates with traditional family values. Perhaps David Ross and Catherine Tobias or Gwynne Bird come closest to that. While it was much clearer to see those who seem to be much more liberal and permissive, especially if they're in the Stonewall Democrats and or the heavily involved with the local Democratic Party. I worry, or I worry and have concern that particularly a candidate from the Stonewall side of the Democrats would be pushing an agenda, perhaps a homosexual agenda, much more than just the necessary anti-bullying protection that I do agree with. And of course, maybe he'll or whoever will push other liberal permissive agenda. Therefore, I have concern, especially with candidate Jay Hansen, as well as perhaps Bina Lefkowitz and Anna Molander. While I would most likely support candidates such as David Ross, Catherine Tobias, or even Gwynne Bird. All of this based on the information I have so far. So that's my opinion. Thank you.
Good evening, President Rodriguez, board members. Thank you for this opportunity. Let me start by saying I'm not up here to support or oppose any of the potential candidates or applicants. They all seem qualified in their own ways. I've had the opportunity, in fact, the privilege of discussing some issues with a few of them, and I think they'd be great applicants. I think they'd be fantastic candidates. I would much rather see them be candidates. I think you heard a lot last night from members of the community about democracy. You've certainly heard from some folks tonight about how important they feel it is to be able to vote for their own representative. You know, some of us wore the uniform in order to defend the right to vote. I don't think it's right to appoint someone, no matter how well qualified they are, when we still have the chance to have a vote on that. And I will respectfully rebut the comments of the last speaker and point out that I would rather have 2,200 people voting on whom should be appointed or whom should be elected than a small group of 4 or 5 who might be swayed by somebody's position on any 1 or 2 issues. Thank you.
Thank you. That concludes our public comment. Before we move on to the next agenda item, I'd like to acknowledge a couple of people in our audience. We have our superintendent, our county superintendent of Sacramento County Office of Education. His name is Dave Gordon, so you want to wave. And we also have former school board member Karen Young in the audience with us today. Thank you for joining us. And we have our newly elected city council member-elect, Mr. Steve Hansen, who's right over here. Thank you. No, thank you for coming. I'm just acknowledging you. Yeah. Yeah.
I put it in a public comment card, so I was trying to figure out.
Now's the time to do your smile and wave. Let me announce. I have just been informed by our secretary that we have several comments on item, I guess either it was former 4.0 for the interview applicants, or we have it on the current 4.0 for the next steps. So if you were here to make comments on either one of those particular items and wish to do it during public comment, you certainly have an opportunity to switch now. You'd like to do it now, Mr. Hansen?
That was my fault.
Thank you.
I'm not even sworn in yet, and I'm already causing trouble. I just wanted to come to thank you for the process that you're undergoing, and I'm not going to pass on the candidates or the process so much as to tell you that I'm looking forward very much to working with our new trustee, Ms. Pritchett. Congratulations and welcome. And the board, the city, I think, can be a better partner to the district, and I'm looking forward to find those opportunities so the schools in the Central City, the schools in Land Park, and the schools in Trustee Area 1 get the attention they deserve. I know that the last year has been hard, and thank you, Board Member Kennedy, for stepping up. And I know I saw you at the Met, which I happen to be having their sweatshirt on tonight. And one of the Met students is actually singing the national anthem at my swearing-in next Tuesday, Perry Wood. I just, in the spirit of friendship and collaboration and cooperation, I look forward to a great partnership with you as board members in the district. Tell us what you need, and I'll do what I can to make those things possible. So thank you.
Thank you. And for the record, could you please state your name?
My name is Steve Hansen.
Thank you very much.
Troublemaker.
Thank you. That concludes our 3.0. Item 4.0, next steps for the appointment process at this time. Do we have any comments on the specific item for next steps for the appointment process?
Yes, I do have, Madam President, I do have one, Annette Deglow for next steps, which was 5.0 at the time.
Yes, thank you.
Okay, now I'm to assume we're into the next step. Is that correct? Okay. I would like to, Annette Deglow, and I'm here as a chief petitioner for J&K, representing myself, Linda Tuttle, and Reggie Fair. Last night at the board meeting, I submitted a request to repeat our demand that the Sacramento City Unified School District conduct a special election to fill the Area 1 trustee seat vacated by Ellen Bell. I pointed out that we make this request in the interest of preserving the intent of Measures J&K, which was to promote community involvement and ensure that the voters of each trustee area elected their trustee. I specifically pointed out that should the board decline to approve a special election and fill the seat by board appointment, it is the intent of the chief petitioners to challenge that provisional appointment under California Education Code Section 5091.C1. We specifically wanted to give notice in advance to emphasize that our demand is not about the individual appointment. It is about the right of the 27,366 residents of Area 1 to elect their representative over appointment by the 6 non-Area 1 residents board members. I would ask tonight that you put this back on the table, reconsider your position, and let the voters decide who they want to have as their representative. Thank you.
No further public comment. Thank you. At this time, I will take comments, questions, discussion from board members. Member Arroyo.
Thank you, President Rodriguez. Earlier in the week, I had sent an email to the board and the executive committee seeking an item for discussion for this particular topic in particular. And that happened after I had received some communication from the petitioners of J&K, making some statements and arguments and setting forth some ideas as to what their position was and what their intent and what they were seeking. And I took the time to listen, and I took the time to really hear what was their concern and what is it that they were trying to say. And I thought that at the end of that conversation, there was merit in what they were saying. The petition does state that the voters of Area 1 are the ones that will decide who their representative is. By the same token, I'm not sure that the petition is specific enough to dictate or to give direction what to do during when a vacancy occurs. And the conversation that I had to do with that, right? I mean, so what to do, and it's expensive at this time to do that cost. But the question that was set back to me was, is the expense really worth sacrificing the voice of the community? Maybe we are not required by either Measure J or K or by state code that we hold an election, or we're required to do so. And I think that we do have the discretion as a board to move in either direction. The main point for me to request that item, and where I thought it was specifically necessary to discuss, and it's to provide the residents of Area 1, to provide an opportunity for the residents, not only of Area 1, but the entire district, to weigh in. Unfortunately, I was not, because of work, able to be part of the full discussion here at the board as the board was deciding what to do after the resignation of Board Member Bell. Having said that, then by the time I started, when I returned back to Sacramento, I came to find that the process was already moving, and it was already set for an appointment. When the petitioners of J&K reach out to the board members and members of the community, I thought that it was imperative that we gave that space for that dialogue to occur. I'm not setting my heart on either we have to have an election or not. What I am set on is making sure that as we move forward with this process, we really hear from every side, that the board has all alternatives on the table, that we have all ideas that merit consideration, discussion, and so that we have the most educated, the best weighed decision as how to move forward. And to me, that was imperative to have this kind of discussion. I do see, I see the benefits on both sides. I do see the need to allow the voters for whom we work and for whom we exist, not only voters, but parents and residents of the entire district, to have their say. I think that over the last 2 weeks, I've received different types of communication, either on support or one way or the other, and I welcome it all. And I figured that this particular venue right now, this time right now, would be the time when people from the community come and tell us how important it is for them to have the election. Sometimes we see this room packed with people with a particular perception or particular position on what they want to see happen in the district. And so regardless if we have the room full or not, we needed to have an opportunity to at least hear from the community, if so they chose to, right? I think that with no further discussion, I don't know if any other members want to chime in or if they have any particular points that they want to make. It is the purview of the board to then move forward with the appointment process, which, you know, I'm comfortable with, but I just wanted to make sure that, as I said, we have an opportunity to hear from the community. Frankly, in the absence of hearing more comments or more voices saying that it, basically I want to be convinced by the community that it's worth incurring the cost of up to $280,000 at this point. I want to be clear that if the public does have that interest, you know, I want to weigh it in. If I don't see that, then, you know, it's clear to me that, well, you know, then we might want to save the money. I am not trying to, I'm just trying to be inclusive of all sides. I get it. We want to protect democracy. There are other ways of defending democracy in the fact that we have democratically elected members up here weighing in these decisions. But I also need to put it on the balance of we have cut over $100 and some million in the last few years. We have cut all our custodial services. We have principals, teachers literally cleaning up feces, vomit, trash, things of that sort. We have children walking half a mile or more a mile in horrible neighborhoods through extremely busy avenues because we had to cut home to school transportation. So the decisions are very real. But what I saw as very real was also the voice of the community. So to me, that was the need for this discussion. To create the space where the community can come and weigh in and tell us how important it is for them to have that election. And so I'm here in this item, ready to listen to any other arguments that would convince me that we need to move towards that election. That tells me that it's worth continuing to sacrifice other services in the district in order to have that voice. It's a tough choice, but the very least we could do is have this dialogue. So with that, I will conclude my comments and let other members speak or members of the community if they so chose to do so. Thank you.
Any other board members wishing to speak on this item? Vice President Wu.
Thank you, Member Arroyo. So let me see if I can understand what our options available are, and I think they're articulated in Ed Code Section 5091. So if I understand Ed Code 5091, we have one of two options. The first option is we make a provisional appointment to fill the vacancy, and and so in order to do that, we would entertain applications and hear the applicants. Or number two, we can order an election at some established election date. If we move to alternative one, which is providing making a provisional appointment, then a petition may be filed, and it may be filed within 30 days of that provisional appointment being made, and it would be filed with the county superintendent, Mr. Gordon. That petition would have to contain sufficient signatures, and I understand that it's 1.5%, and it's unknown, or it's unclear to me whether or not it's 1.5% of the registered voters in the entire school district, or 1.5% of the registered voters within trustee area 1. But if I were filing the petition, I would contemplate trying to gather as many signatures in the event that it's the latter rather than it's the 1.5% of the signatures in the total district, just to be safe. And then the county superintendent would have 30 days to verify those signatures, and then within, I think, 130 days, I think an election, a special election would be held. Now, I think council can clarify for me, if this school board makes a provisional appointment and the county superintendent verifies that the signatures are valid and he calls for a special election, what would happen to our provisional appointment, council?
That appointment is terminated, and the seat is vacant until an election is held, certified, and then the board, that position is filled.
So we could make, this body could make an appointment within 30 days, a petition could be filed, and 30 days thereafter, the county superintendent could verify that there are sufficient valid signatures, and then that provisional appointment then would be vacated.
Correct.
All right. So that's my understanding of the general provisions of 5091, and that is, I think, the alternatives that we are faced with. So I just want to make it clear for ourselves and for the public what issues are before us in terms of possible next steps for the appointment process. I'm not going to make a statement as to which way I prefer, but I've heard a lot of testimony in the last few days and received many communications vis-a-vis the moving forward with the election process. Just state that for the record.
Member Arroyo.
So continuing with that, and Vice President Wu, thank you very much for the very clear process. And I think that therein is where we have to decide. I mean, if the communications that the board has received about the collection of signatures, which we have 100 and something thousand voters in the area. So we're talking about basically 25 signatures at the most. I mean, that's the highest threshold, right?
25 signatures?
No, 2,500. 2,500 signatures. 2,500 signatures that at the highest threshold need to be collected within 30 days. If those signatures then get filed with the county, then whatever appointment we do here tonight or on the 20th would then be vacated, and then at that point, the county superintendent, SCOE superintendent basically would then call an election. So I think that then the decision is the likeliness of those signatures to be gathered, and then we probably then move with the appointment and then wait for, I guess that's the question to the board. I mean, we move with their appointment and then wait for the, to see if it materializes that they, whoever gathers the signatures and then files them with the county. It seems to me that then that's the, what we have to kind of weigh in. Is that correct, Ms. Vice President Wu?
That's my understanding.
Any other board members wishing to? Vice President Cuneo.
I will be as succinct as possible. We had hearings about a month ago in which we discussed the need for an election versus an appointment process. There was, to my recollection, no public comment on the issue. We decided to go with an appointment process. My decision-making at that point in time was based foremost on the fiscal issue. Whatever comments or criticisms you have of this board and the way we spend our money and where it goes is valid. But when I'm going to put $250,000 of this district's money in the hands of bureaucrats in the election department, I pause. We're here to serve students. We're here to ensure that the money get into our system as best as possible and hopefully spend it as wisely as we can. That was my thinking back then. I then had occasion to go to the forum at California Middle and was very impressed with all of the candidates at that forum. I felt everyone was articulate, smart, had a grasp of issues that were important to not only their constituency but our district. I felt that at the end of that, that all of them would be good board members who would serve their area with the respect that that area deserves. We were then, well, I will say, then there were opinions brought forth that we should return to a election, that the election was, not having election was somehow an end run around the residents of Area 1. I am sympathetic to the argument. I mean, you know, I do see democracy as a good thing. Obviously, having people elect their representatives is always a good thing in our system. I keep going back to the fiscal issue. No one has given me an argument why the 6 people who I see today before me can't serve that area with distinction. And to spend $280,000 away from our students while we've continuously, since I've been here, made cut after cut after cut, and we are just devastating this system that we are in charge of. That's my thoughts right now. I think we go forward with the appointment process. That's where I'm at right now.
Member Pritchett.
Thank you. I just would like to say that being a brand new board member and having gone through this election process, the community really reached out for me. And without them, I probably would not be here tonight. As a parent in this district, I've seen firsthand what our campuses look like. As Member Arroyo stated, our campuses are dirty, our libraries are dark, our classrooms are full. This is not where we want to see them. I too pause when I hear the amount of money that we would have to spend if we decided to go with special election. Also, we should be very proud that 6 wonderful candidates have come forth that are well qualified to serve in this district. Thank you.
You do not? Would you like to comment? Thank you. Member Kennedy. Member Kennedy, or you want to go?
I will say, and I've said this to a few people as an aside, one of the issues I think is the respect we have to have for the candidates in this process. And it was one of the reasons why I was glad we front-loaded this discussion, because there was a time and a place to say, have an election, and these people have gone to great lengths and sacrifice of their lives and their families, and we need to treat that respectfully. And that's why at this point, you know, that's one of the factors that I consider. I think we need to make a decision now. I think we need to make a final decision now, and we need to go forward. I don't think it's fair to these people to have them stand up and get battered with questions and spend their Friday night if we're just going to say at the end of the day, look, we're going with an election. So I am for continuing with this process as it stands.
Member Kennedy.
I've been kind of quiet because there really wasn't anything for me to say, because as far as I'm concerned, it's going forward with the appointment process unless there's a motion otherwise. So I have nothing to speak to, really. I think I may have made the motion even for the appointment process, and that was unanimous up here. We all kind of laughed because we had moved forward with it without even making the motion because it was so obvious to us at the time. Nobody spoke against the appointment process at that time. We have still had very few speakers speak against the appointment process. I've received voluminous emails that have been in support of one candidate or another. Many have given me input on what type of a candidate, an applicant they would like to see, what would they like to see in their board member from Area 1. I did reach out and I did a piece of mail requesting that I get that input. And not one person, not one email have I gotten has said, or let me rephrase that, not one person from Area 1 has said to me that they think that we should spend $270,000. And I say 270 knowing it's the high amount, but that's the way we budget here. We always look at the worst case. So, I just don't see the need. I think we had a process, an open process, a very transparent process. We were even lauded for it in the B as having a very transparent process, putting everything online, having everything accessible. And I think it's been a very clean process. We ended up getting what Member Cuneo said was absolutely correct. I was at that candidates forum as well. I would be proud to serve with any one of these 6 people. I am confident in thinking that going forward for the next less than 2 years, that this person will be a fabulous caretaker of that seat, and if that person chooses to run, so be it. But for now, I just don't see, with the budget crisis that we have going right now, I can't look the superintendent back there in the eye and tell him that I'm being a good steward of public money when I'm spending $270,000, and I just don't see where it gets me. That's where I'm standing right now. Thank you.
Any other board members wishing to express comment, discussion? Yes. Yes.
And I would just like to say a closing remark from my end, and I want to indulge every single board member. I really wanted to make sure that the community had, as I said, the opportunity. And Board Member Kennedy, I think that you're right when you state, all the reasons why we're moving forward with the, it seems like we're going to be moving forward with the appointment. If anything, it was not to question what we had done up to this point as much as just ensure that we were covering all of the bases. I think that by the end of this discussion, after we close this item and we move on to the next, what I really wanted to make sure is to have the ability to look at anybody in the eye and say, we very purposely acted in a way that allowed us all the transparency that needed to happen, the forum that needed to happen. These dialogues can't happen offline because the Brown Act does not allow for more than 3 of us to talk about any one particular item. So these are the only venues that we are able to engage not only ourselves, but the entire community. So for me, it was imperative that even if it was just an exercise of, a few people coming to the board, it needed to happen. And so for my comfort, for my view of how governance works, I really want to indulge. Thank you. We really want to thank the entire board and the community for indulging me, having this space to open the forum and have this discussion as brief and as much as I've talked to. So thank you.
Thank you very much. I just would like to express that I believe that our board has done the best decision that they could have made at the time that they had made it. And also I'd like to commend the board in ensuring that we had transparency throughout this process. It was a very fruitful discussion up here. We reviewed questions. We tried to make this as equal as possible in asking the right questions and in ensuring that items were put out to the public in a timely manner. And so sometimes, though, democracy doesn't work on our time. Regardless of what we think and how fast we want to run, our legs sometimes get ahead of us. And there's always the public that we serve, that is there to remind us that we've gone too fast and that sometimes we need to take a pause. We've heard from the public, regardless of how few have come forward or how many have come forward. We've heard from the public. There is an intent to petition, to sign a petition, get it circulated. So regardless of whether we want to spend money on a special election or not, we may have to. And so with that, I'm not going to side for one or the other right now because I don't have all the facts in front of me. I don't have the actual cost of how much a special election would cost in different scenarios. I'd like to see that. I would also like to see how much money cost savings we had when 2 board members did not experience a race at all of the 4 seats that were up for election this most recent election. I believe there's a balance there. And so for us to make a decision without looking at those facts, then I think we could say proceed forward today, but should the facts come forward that would support a different decision, we always have another meeting to make a different decision. We have Member Kennedy.
I think if I understand what you said, I disagree with it. Because we actually do have all of the facts that you've asked for. We've gotten them many times. Mr. Behrens, you've provided us with the cost estimates from the county.
It's directly from the County of Elections. 2 questions were asked. What would be the cost of a non-mail ballot election, and what would be the cost of a ballot election in Trustee Area 1? The best estimate they could give would be between $5 and $10 per registered voter, and there are 27,366, and this is the number we were given, registered voters in Trustee Area 1. So there is a range. The top range is $273,660 with the caveat that the rates could be adjusted on January 1. The low was $136,830. So it's a range, but the information that was provided, and they said these are our best estimates. That was the best information that could be provided to the board.
So we actually do have that fact. And, just so we can move forward, because I also disagree with the fact that we have the opportunity now to kick the can down the road one more time. I think I agree with Member Cuneo. We either do this tonight or we let these fine people go home. That I think that we were elected to make decisions, and when the facts are in front of us, even though we don't like them necessarily, they're hard, we make those decisions based on those facts. I think we have all the facts. If there's any facts we don't have, please specifically bring it out now. Between legal counsel and my esteemed colleagues, I think we have the facts up here right now, and I think that we should make a decision to go forward one way or the other this evening.
I'm just saying that we do not have an entire factual picture in front of us. We didn't take into consideration that we had 2 seats that were not challenged and the cost savings as a result of that. That question was not put onto the table. It was not considered and factored in. It was merely a fact of how much would a special election cost, not how much did we have a cost savings because 2 more board members didn't have an election. And did we balance all of that out? Did we look at everything? It's called completed staff work. And if we fail to do completed staff work, well, then we just admit it, and then we do it. It's in the world of budgets, if you didn't look at, A, when you factored in and estimate it, then you may have to go back and look at A because it might be just critical. Because regardless of whether we appoint, it's still going to be challenged, and we still have to put the money out. So we might as well know how much money we have in our bank account. That's all I'm saying. I'm not saying we should go one way or the other on this right now. I'm not here to argue one point or another. I'm just saying let's get some facts on the table. let's get some more questions answered, and then we can make a decision at that point. Member Kennedy.
So then, President Rodriguez, are you asking that we continue this process until you get the answers that you're looking for?
I would entertain a motion if somebody if somebody wants to go different. For now, tonight's meeting is to go forward with an appointment process that has been outlined by the board. If somebody wants a different decision than that, they will have to make a motion for an alternative decision by the board. That motion would have to be supported by a 2/3 vote. Then we can change whatever our agenda process is at this point. But for now, we are proceeding with an appointment process unless someone otherwise puts a motion out to do different. Member Arroyo.
I'll try to put it in simple terms. I think just we can gauge the pleasure of the board just by answering the simple question, appoint or no appoint. And we can take a quick sample or a quick poll, and if we have a majority, we move forward with the appointment, and I think that we're done with the discussion.
I respectfully disagree with you, Member Arroyo, that the agenda has been set up to go forward with an appointment process. Unless someone otherwise puts forward a motion to do other than an appointment process, then we move forward with our agenda. There are no motions on the table. We move forward with the agenda. Okay. Thank you. Or do we have any other board comment, discussions? Thank you. So moving on, we are done with 4.0. We are now in the new 5.0, which is called the interview of applicants for board member appointment for trustee area 1. It's an information item, 2 hours and 40-minute discussion. We do have a process that is laid out. And I will say what the process is. Each applicant will have 3 minutes to make an opening statement